Oh yeah, there was a good one on December 17th of 1919, a meteorologist said that there would be a conjunction of the 6 planets that would cause a magnetic current to pierce the sun and cause great explosions of flaming gas that would engulf the earth, which created huge panic around the world. There was another one, by the way, when Halley's Comet came in, and they predicted that the gases from the comet would kill everybody, and a bunch of people went around selling comet pills that were going to protect you from these poisonous gases. So, you know, the end of the world obviously is been a big topic, and a lot of that supposedly based on Christianity and the teachings of Jesus. But what did Jesus say? You know, there's several parts of that, but we know that in the Gospel of Thomas, when his disciples asked him about the end of the world, he said, "Why do you talk about the end? Do you know the beginning? Because he who knows the beginning will know the end and will not die." And in the same thing, it quotes him as saying, "Blessed are those who are born before they are come into being." And for those of you who have been with us with the teachings of Ellen Bush, she talks about that at that time, among the mystical teachers, there was a focus on returning to the beginning. And you know, the idea is the end is about death, and it's about fear, and that's what it's really about. When you concentrate on the end, you concentrate on letting fear in. And the beginning is about birth, and it's about hope. I mean, we know that Jesus is quoted as saying that you have to be born again. And of course, many of the Christians take this in a very different way than we might think that it means. And in fact, again, with Ellen's teachings on the Aramaic, in other words, the language that Jesus was actually speaking in, it wouldn't be born again, it would be born at the beginning. Again, a return to the beginning and a return to the source. Now, what does that mean? I mean, if we want to move forward in our lives, if we want to move forward in enlightenment, what would it mean to be born at the beginning? And we're talking about in a spiritual sense. And so, if we want to take that time, if we want to set some time aside in our life to go back to the beginning, what would we do and how would we see that? And remember that for many years, they're passing notes up front, by the way.
Yeah. Passing energy.
That people taught for many years that reality as we see it is an illusion. And it has no real meaning, and that there's just only one meaning, and that's the spiritual. But I think instead there's only one truth. And that truth is the spiritual. And that means that the spiritual and the physical must go together. They're not separate things. And so the spiritual can teach us about the physical being, but the physical can also teach us about the spiritual. And so let's go back to the beginning. And let's set some time, let's set some space in our lives to return to the beginning. And what are we going to do? Well, the beginning is the Big Bang. And what do we have there? We have unity. Because all is one at that point. There is no separation. And so if we want to return to the beginning, let's set some time to return to unity, to being one with everything. Now, we do a lot of training here about how to take care of ourselves and about how to improve ourselves. But if there's unity, maybe we need to give some time, too, of how to help others and how to take care of the earth so we're helping all life. And in that instant of the Big Bang, there was simplicity, was there not? I mean, there was only one thing. There was a type of energy, only one type of energy. And so if we go back to simplicity, maybe we can set aside some time when it's not about what we can get, but maybe what we can give up for a little bit. Instead of, what are all the things we can do, what's a little less we can do? And instead, focus on this simplicity and on this unity. At the beginning, there was clarity, because it was only light. There was nothing else. And so let's go back to clarity. And you know, in the Tao Te Ching, it talks about how the colors and the senses distract us. And we get refocused by focusing back on the one. And that's the clarity of the beginning. Because in the beginning, there's not all of these different things. There's just the one light that was there. That was all there was. And if we can go back into this meditative state of unity and simplicity and clarity and openness. Because again, there's no barriers. If you go to the beginning, there aren't things, so there are no barriers. And spiritually, that's where we can be still. Because we can go back to that beginning where everything that is part of us, is part of our path. And so it can't be in your way if it's part of the path. And in the beginning, there was abundance. Because we know that, and we've talked about that, everything that's in the universe now was there. Everything. All knowledge, all energy, all matter. It was in the form of energy, but there is nothing new. It was all there. All abundance created right then. And if we go back to that beginning, we go back to that place where all abundance is. And I'm not talking about money and things. You know, I'm talking about that spiritual abundance, which is our right and our heritage. And so it's easy sometimes to get into the fear, to get into the fear of this good thing is going to end, this relationship is going to end, the money I have is going to be done, and live in fear of the end. But we have that choice to go back to the beginning, and instead of concentrating on fear, concentrating on that rebirth, that renewal and hope, and to have that abundance and unity within us. So